What's going on? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. I am excited to be on, getting my life together. Hold on, y'all. Excited to be on. I hope you all enjoyed your holiday weekend. If you celebrated, I enjoyed the weekend. I didn't really celebrate, but I enjoyed the rest. Okay. Um, that's what's most important. Get my stuff up here. But yeah, I hope all is well, y'all. I hope that you have, and again, enjoyed your weekend, but I hope your day went good today as well. Today we are talking about, what are we talking about? We are talking about how to deal with overwhelm from the poll from I want to say 2 weeks ago. As people voted, a lot of the options changed, which is perfectly okay. I'm glad that you guys are voting. So how do you deal with overwhelm was actually ended up being number one after a certain point. So I'm glad we're able to jump into this conversation. I think it's something that is talked about, but not talked about in detail, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so would love to talk about it in detail. Mind you guys, I haven't had any caffeine, okay, today. So bear with me as we navigate this conversation. But if this is your first time, my name is Debbie. I am a certified mindfulness coach and a pre-licensed therapist. I have a couple of months left of internship, y'all, and we getting there. We getting there, we getting there, we getting there. But this channel is all things self-care, self-help, primarily from a mindfulness perspective. And we do this live every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope that every session that we talk about, or every conversation, rather, every live that we do, is helpful and contributes to your well being. And that's really the goal here. Again, if this is your first time and you have not subscribed yet, why not? Please do. Go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the live with anybody you can think of that can benefit from it. And this is interactive. So feel free to talk back to me if you have any questions, need me to repeat anything. Just let me know in the comments. And if you are here, drop in the comments as well where you're watching from. I would love to know. And drop in the comments how you're feeling today. Are you overwhelmed? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Is this something that's resonating for today? Let me know. Hi, Eric. Welcome in. Appreciate you joining the live today. So we're going to dive in. I'm going to always dive in with a good definition, y'all, right? Because why not? We got to talk about what exactly we're talking about before we talk about the thing, right? Tell me about the thing before we talk about the thing. All right, so that's what we're going to do. So I'll start with a definition. I'll talk about how overwhelm shows up, and then I will give you 5, I think it is. Yes. I will give you 5 tangible, practical steps that you can take away from today on how to manage or navigate your overwhelm. Hi, Maddie. Welcome in. Um, okay, and then we'll end with a declaration. So again, feel free to let me know in the comments if you have any questions, if you need me to repeat anything, if this is resonating with you, like let me know. Hi, 93 Love. Welcome in. So let me know, y'all. Talk back to me. So let's start with our definition. And tap the screen, y'all. I forgot to say that too. Tap the screen, like the live, especially if this is helpful. So let's start with a definition. So overwhelm. Overwhelm is a state where the demands you're facing feel greater than your ability to cope with them in that moment. So I'm going to say it again. Overwhelm is a state where the demands you're facing feel greater than your ability to cope with them in the moment. Your brain and nervous system begin to perceive that you don't have enough time, you don't have enough energy, you don't have enough emotional capacity, you don't have enough resources, right, to manage everything at once. Overwhelm is when your mind and body feel like they're carrying more than they can hold. It's not necessarily about how much you have to do, it's about how much your brain believes it can handle, right? Because there's a lot of times where we handle a lot of things and it's perfectly fine. We're good, right? We're just moving through the day. And then there's other times where we're trying to manage those same things. And for some reason, that those same things feel so overwhelming, right? So it's not necessarily about how much you have to do, but it's more so about how much your brain believes it can handle, right? Your brain is trying to conceptualize too many things at a time, and it's usually too many unfinished thoughts, right? So they all are competing for your attention, right? So you're trying to conceptualize all of these unfinished thoughts. They're all competing for your attention at the same time. And because of that, now you feel a series or have a season of overwhelm, right? It's kind of like having too many tabs open on your computer or in your web browser, right? You know, you have your web browser open, you keep the same web browser open, and it has so many tabs in there. Over time, that your computer system is going to start, or even just your web browser is going to start like breaking down. It's going to start running slow. It's going to start acting really wonky. Things aren't going to refresh the way that they're supposed to, right? So at a certain point, you're going to have to shut the whole web browser down. Sometimes you may have to do an update to the web browser, all of the things, and then open up some fresh tabs. Okay, so that's really what overwhelm is. It's just too many tabs at one time, and it's becoming overwhelming. Okay, so that is the definition of overwhelm. Okay. Now, what happens when we are overwhelmed, right? What does that look like? Okay. Hi Jay, thank you so much for joining. So what happens when you're overwhelmed? When your brain senses that life feels like too much, which is often, right? It shifts into survival mode. Instead of helping you think clearly, it prioritizes getting you through what is perceived as a threat. So when your system is overwhelmed, your brain reads that as threatening. It reads that as danger. And that's why you have so many, not just emotional triggers, but physical triggers, as well as even to the point where it's shifting your behavior. So just in thinking about how it looks or what it looks like, your thinking changes, your emotions change, and your behavior change. Your body changes and your behavior changes. So when you're thinking, your thoughts race, you ruminate, right? You have trouble concentrating, you forget things you normally would remember. Making even simple decisions feels very overwhelming or exhausting. And then everything starts to feel urgent. So then you don't know what to do or what to take action on. Your emotions become more intense. So, anxiety, irritability, you may become tearful, frustrated, defeated, numbness, right? You feel withdrawn. Your body will begin to respond. So you'll have muscle tensions, headaches, tight chest, upset stomach, fatigue, trouble sleeping, shallow breathing, racing heart, right? And then your behavior starts to change, right? It's all linked together. So you may begin to procrastinate, you may avoid things, you may sleep a lot longer, you may scroll your phone for a lot longer, you may be irritable or snappy to people that hasn't even done anything to you, but you're overwhelmed and now you're trying to navigate that. You may overeat or lose your appetite. You may withdraw from people. You may stay busy but accomplish very little. So it's just like I was saying before, just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're productive. Not all busy work is actually productivity. So you may try to find things to do to keep yourself busy to make yourself feel productive when you're not necessarily productive. Okay. So I went through those kind of fast, but if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you, 93 Love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm glad that you're finding this beneficial. Okay, so after all of that, I did all the explanations of overwhelm and what it is and what it may look like, right? So what do you do? right? What do you do when you feel overwhelmed? That's the core of the answer of the question, right? What do you do? So there's 5 things that you can do. And yes, I would say do these in this order for the most effectiveness. But hey, when you're overwhelmed, you got to do what you got to do, right? You can't really, sometimes you can't even think straight sometimes when you're overwhelmed. So, but I would say do this in this order. Number 1 is to pause before you accelerate. Pause before you accelerate. Oftentimes, when we feel overwhelmed, our initial response is to try to push harder, to try to push through it, to try to make things work, right? When in actuality, it's a signal to pause, it's a signal to stop, it's a signal to come back to the present, right? So when you feel you're having a sense of overwhelm, and you feel it actually just kind of rising up in your body, just as well as in your emotions, and you kind of feel it just kind of coming and coming, the best thing you can do in those moments is stop and pause, right? So instead of trying to push through, pause and stop, and then instead ask yourself, what is happening inside me right now? What is happening? Not necessarily what is wrong with me, because it's not necessarily something wrong. It just means that something is happening. This is a signal or an indicator that something is happening internally, and that it needs your attention. All right. Also notice what emotions are present. So what emotions are here? What thoughts keep repeating, right? What does my body feel like? Taking the time to be present with yourself and to understand what's actually happening. So that way you can give yourself what you need in that moment versus you trying to push through it and push past it. Because ultimately, that's pushing past it and pushing through it is what you've been doing most likely to get to this point. And there's going to be a certain instance where that's not going to work anymore. You may have more of a breakdown, or you may blow up, or you may it may drive you to do something to do behaviors or to have behaviors that you don't want. So this is a way for you to stop it before it happens, and finding a way to, or finding a better understanding as to what's happening internally. Okay. Um, Okay. So when it comes to, that was number 1. So pause before you accelerate. Number 2, regulate your body and nervous system first. Okay. Sometimes we try to, again, push through and push past things. And in order for you to really try to get past or manage your overwhelm, you want to make sure that you're regulating your nervous system first. Focus on a reset, big or small, because of the fact that your overwhelm may just be for the moment, for that second. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that's going to overwhelm your life throughout the entire day. So whether that reset is big or small, it could be a short break, or maybe you need to take a long shower, or you may need to take a walk, or you may need to re refocus on something different and then come back to whatever you're working on. So focus on the reset, big or small. Um, Ultimately, you cannot think clearly when your nervous system is just feels unsafe. So before solving problems, before trying to fix things, before trying to make things better, help your body settle. Help your body settle in. Okay. When it comes to how you can regulate your nervous system, I feel like there may be, I want to say there is a video on nervous system regulation. I'm not sure. There should be. I'll find it and tag it in this video. But finding ways to regulate your nervous system is going to be important. It's going to look different by each person. So regulating your nervous system just has to feel restoring or restorative, whether that be, like I said, taking a walk outside, taking a rest, taking a shower, meditation, prayer, slow or deep breathing, listening to music, doing any grounding exercises, working out, stretching, right? Reading. There's so many different things. Being creative, doing, if it's something that you like to do, playing music, or coloring is another thing that people like to do and don't even realize it. So There's so many things that you can do to regulate your nervous system, but do something that's going to bring you back to the present. Okay. Hi, William. Welcome in. So that was number two. Regulate your body and nervous system first. And then number three, unload in writing. So people feel like, I feel like when people think about writing or just like journaling in general, they really underestimate how helpful it can be. But when you are overwhelmed, the best thing that you can do is to write it all down, because of the fact that overwhelm is usually partnered with rumination, which is what I've talked about before, which is basically the instant replay that happens over and over again in your mind. Okay. So, oftentimes when you're ruminating, you have all these things and these thoughts coming and going over and over and over again. And in that, you end up overwhelming yourself with those thoughts. So the way to interrupt rumination or to interrupt this feeling of overwhelm is to write everything down. It doesn't have to be organized. It doesn't have to look a certain way. Just getting it all out of your brain is the goal. So writing down every task you're worried about, every idea you're thinking about, every responsibility, everything on your to-do list, every reminder that you're trying to make sure that you're reminding yourself of, and making sure to get it all out on paper. Again, like I said, not in the attempt to organize it quite yet. It's more so of just being a way for you to dump it all out, so that way you're not ruminating about it anymore, right? You have it down on paper. Um, and just understanding that, and also make sure that it's handwritten, right? Some people feel like, and I say some people like myself, my handwriting just isn't the great isn't the greatest, just sucks. But handwriting is important when it comes to the rumination or the overwhelm, because the actual action of writing is actually telling your brain that it's processing, right? That it's getting all of the information out. So as you're handwriting and as you're doing that, and your brain is now getting the satisfaction of processing all of the ideas that you have, your nervous system will begin to calm down even more. Okay. So the handwriting piece is important when it comes to this specifically. You can always handwrite it and then maybe go back and like kind of type it out if you want to, but making sure to write it out rather than trying to, say it out. Or, I mean, you could, some people do recording or do like the voice memos, but just finding a way to get it out on paper so that way you can see it is ideal. Okay. It's about understanding too that our brains are sequential, right? So it thinks about things in sequences. So as you are writing it out, it tricks the brain, not necessarily tricks the brain because you are actually taking the action, but it tells the brain that it's working out something in a sequential order. So it then begins to calm down the nervous system. It's a pattern. This series of overwhelm and rumination is a pattern that your body and your nervous system is used to. So the writing down also interrupts that pattern. It interrupts the pattern of overwhelm to where it begins to calm the body, calm the nervous system, calm the mind, so that way you actually can think rationally and logically and have lucid, put together thoughts, so that way you can make decisions on things that you need to make decisions on. And that takes me to number four, which is organize your responsibilities. So once you have everything down on paper, and once you have like pretty much flooded it all out, you can then start to kind of organize and decide and prioritize like what needs to happen and where things are supposed to go. So asking questions about, what are, based off all of the things that I have here, how can I make this easier, right? What can I automate? What can I delegate? Meaning, what can I give to someone else, right? What can I withdraw from? Is there anything that I put on my plate that I didn't have to put on my plate, right? So what can I withdraw from? What can I take off my plate? What can I move? What can I postpone, right? Thinking about all of the things, in regards to the responsibilities that you have and that are overwhelming you, sometimes it may just be, okay, maybe I need to move this to next week, or maybe I need to move this to the weekend, or maybe I can do this while I'm doing this, so that way I don't have to worry about it after that. Or maybe I can do this in the morning versus doing this in the afternoon, right? So thinking about all of the things that you can do, that that maybe just being taken off of your plate, right? Also, let's see here. Just a second here. What can I take off my plate? What can I move? What can I postpone? What responsibilities have I taken on that are not mine to keep? Okay? What responsibilities have I taken on that are not mine to keep? So, thinking about things that you may have overcommitted, right? You may have thought you would have been able to do it, but then found out, you know what, this isn't going to work. Hi, Christopher, welcome in. Then found out that it's not going to work, you know. What responsibilities have you taken on that is just, you know, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done this, and maybe there's a way that I can either postpone this, push this to the side, or delegate to someone else, or just let the person know, or let the, you know, whoever I need to know that I can't do it anymore, right? um I know that you may not want to do that, but in some instances it's necessary, right? In some instances you're going to have to just say, you know, I can't. I thought I'll be able to do this. I apologize, but I don't think that I'm going to be able to do this. Okay. Where do I need to adjust my expectations? Sometimes we're overwhelmed because we have expectations that are just unrealistic, right? What what made you think you'll be able to get that done in 12 hours? Maybe not. Maybe you needed 2 days, or maybe you needed 3 days, right? So, understanding that you may have to adjust your expectations in certain situations, and that's what's causing the overwhelm. What is unrealistic? What have I put on myself, or what have I allowed someone to put on me that was an unrealistic expectation? Okay. So where do I need to adjust my expectations? And then lastly, what's urgent? Really decipher like what's urgent and what's important. There's a difference. Okay. Understanding what's urgent and what's important will help you prioritize, right? Okay. So all of the urgent things I know I need to do within the next 72 hours, right? What's important I know needs to be done by the end of the week. All right. So, really starting to pinpoint what's urgent, what's important, what you've procrastinated on, what you have to do that affects others. So, if it's, you know, if you don't do this action, it's going to affect someone else's action. So, I may need to prioritize that before I prioritize, you know, what's just important. Right. And then what has an actual deadline and what doesn't. Sometimes we just gave ourselves deadlines for things when in actuality doesn't necessarily have or didn't necessarily have a deadline. It was just something that we put on ourselves, that which takes us back to the unrealistic expectations, right? What areas, or what pieces, or what tasks do I have on my list that I can push back a deadline? Does it have to be done on this date? Like, what detrimental would happen if I don't have it done by this date and time? Okay. And it could even be, even if it is a realistic deadline, is it a deadline I can renegotiate? Right? Can I go back and say to this person, like, hey, like, I know I said that I'll be able to get this done on this date. Is there a possibility that we can push that back to 2 days, or push that back a day? Or can we push it back to next week? Right? You'll be surprised of how accommodating people can be, especially when you're able to you know, have that conversation ahead of time. Now, granted, if it's due in an hour, it may be a little bit more difficult, right? But if it, you know, if this is something you have due at the end of the week and it has a deadline, and you're like, you know what, I may need to reach out and see, you know, if I can find some support or push it back, then do that, right? That was number 4. Yes. So organize your responsibilities. And then number 5, prioritize day by day prioritize day by day versus task by task. Okay. So sometimes we just have this long list of tasks, right? Thank you, Mississippi Hippie. Love that. Welcome in. Okay. So that was, number five, prioritize day by day versus task by task. So sometimes what happens is that we have these long lists of tasks and we're trying to address all of these tasks at one time. When you're able to break those tasks down to day by day and just focus on one day at a time, it makes it less overwhelming. So if you have like a list of, 17 things that you want to get done, and you can break that down to maybe 3 or 4 things a day and just focus on those 3 or 4 things a day, that looks like it's a lot more easier to address versus you trying to address a whole 17 task list. Okay, so that's like one of the biggest things is breaking down things day by day, week by week versus task by task, because having a whole list of tasks is not helpful at times. um yeah, if you get super overwhelmed, this live will definitely be helpful. This will be saved, so you can always watch the playback too. So number five, prioritize day by day versus task by task. Separate urgent from important, just like we were talking about before, right? Just because something is important doesn't make it urgent. So really determine what is urgent and what is just important. And then just understanding that when you are overwhelmed, everything feels urgent, right? So when you're thinking about regulating your nervous system, that's why that's important first before you do this part. So that way you're able to regulate, rationalize, and really think about, okay, is this urgent or is this just important? And not to say that they both aren't important. It just means that one needs to be done right now and maybe one needs to be done this week or this month, right? So prioritize day by day versus task by task. What do I need to get done today and what can wait, right? What do I need to get done today and what can wait? Are my deadlines realistic? What can go past my deadlines, right? Are these hard stops? Are these hard deadlines? Or is there wiggle room? Is there space for me to be able to push it back a little bit or to change how I get it done, right? Um, what's the next right thing, right? Thinking about what is the next right thing? What is the next step, the very next step that I need to make sure I do, and putting that on your to-do list for the day versus you trying to address the whole task, like I was saying before. Okay. And yes. And then, just thinking about how you're able to address your day by day. So, whether it be time blocking, so blocking out time, right? Priorities your top 3 tasks, prioritize your top 3 tasks, right? So, what are the top 3 things that I need to get done today? Just a second, y'all. Um, the Eisenhower block method, I think that's what it's called. I wonder, I'll have to look it up and see what it is. Usually with blocking, I usually just kind of take all of my tasks and I either put them in a calendar or I actually just put the time blocks and like what I need to do in those time blocks on my calendar. So that way I know that, okay, during this time, I don't have to worry about this one thing because I already have a time slotted for it. Okay, I'll look it up. You said it's Eisenhower. What was it? Eisenhower block method. I'll look it up and see. It might be something that I already do, just don't know the name for it. Let's see. Awesome. I'm glad that you joined too. I appreciate you joining. Um, And I'm glad that this was the topic that was voted on, because it definitely needs to be talked about. And I think I don't think we spell this out enough on what to do, because sometimes we're just overwhelmed and we just deal with it. But there's so many small steps that you can do. Um, oh, I see. So this is pretty much the same thing. It just has a little, it's more formal or formalized. Um, and it gives you actually a like a framework basically to do it. Okay. Awesome. Thanks for suggesting that. Um just a second, y'all. Okay. All right. So is that all I have? I think that's all I have. I have just a declaration that we can take away for tonight. Again, I hope this is helpful. Yeah, that was number 5. So number 1 was pause before you accelerate. Um oh, thank you. Number 1 is pause before you accelerate. I try to make it simple so that way it's not like overwhelming, cuz you're already overwhelmed, right? Like nobody wants to, have a whole bunch of steps before they even can get to feeling some sense of relief, right? So yes, number 1 was pause before you accelerate. Number 2 was regulate your body and nervous system first. Number 3 was unload in writing, get it out of your brain. Number 4 was organize your responsibilities. And then number 5, prioritize day by day versus task by task. Okay. Um, all right, y'all. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this has bring like some sense of support and help. Um, and I hope um, that this at least gives you a starting place on what to do when you feel overwhelmed, right? And I feel like sometimes people feel overwhelmed every day, and that is a key indicator to start to implement some of these things. Now, be compassionate with yourself, be kind to yourself when doing this. I think sometimes something that happens that I didn't talk about a lot, but I would love to mention is that there's a lot of negative self talk that happens when we're overwhelmed as well. So make sure to be mindful of how you're speaking to yourself during this time. Show yourself compassion. So show yourself love and kindness. And really, when I talked about regulating your body and your nervous system first, that component of self love and self talk and positive self talk goes hand in hand with regulating your system. Sometimes it's just a matter of us like reassuring ourselves and validating ourselves to know that we're human, that overwhelm or a state of overwhelm is a common human experience. And that's okay, right? So, you regulating your body and nervous system can be as simple as that. So that's why I have the declaration for you. So feel free to write this down or take this down. And this is just something that you can either say to yourself. It doesn't have to be word for word. It can be something that you make up on your own. And this is just a framework that you can use. But really remind yourself that you're human. And it's okay that you're overwhelmed and that your brain is just doing what it's supposed to do. It's trying to find solutions. And sometimes when it's trying to find solutions for multiple things at a time, it just overloads. And that's okay, right? So the declaration I have is today I choose presence over panic and peace over pressure. I give myself permission to pause, breathe, and begin again. Knowing my worth is not measured by my productivity. I'll say that again. Today, I choose presence over panic and peace over pressure. I give myself permission to pause, breathe, and begin again. Knowing my worth is not measured by my productivity. I'll say that one last time in case you guys need to get that. Today, I choose presence over panic and peace over pressure. I give myself permission to pause, breathe, and begin again, knowing my worth is not measured by my productivity. Okay. I hope this is helpful, y'all. I really do. It's been a long weekend for me with internship, but and I didn't have any caffeine today. But hey, we made it through, okay? And just know that Debbie with caffeine is a lot more energetic and ready to go. But listen, we made it through it. We made it through it, y'all. So again, I hope this is helpful. I hope you all remain blessed and safe throughout the week. Next week, I will be out. I do have to get my wisdom teeth pulled, y'all. Not excited about it. But yeah, not excited about it at all. So I won't be able to talk, okay? I really won't be able to have like physically talk. So we won't have a live next week. I'm hoping that I will be fully recovered to be able to have a live the following week. If not, I will let you guys know. But if we are able to do that live, I will post a new poll. I feel like the last Actually, I feel like the last topic was still um, heavily voted on. Let me check it. Yeah, the last topic was, it did have a good amount of votes, which was the last topic was trust issues. So yeah, actually, we'll just do that. So we'll do trust issues, not next week, but the week after. Hopefully, I'm back and ready to go. If at any point, if I can't do the next 2 weeks, I'll let you guys know. But that will be the next topic is trust issues. Trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, again, if this is your first time, subscribe if you haven't already, all right? Because we do this every Monday. We do this every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We talk about different topics based off of what's voted on in the poll. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, so that way you can see the polls as they're posted, so that way you can vote on what we talk about. You also can join our newsletter on our website at haveninspired.com. Thank you for subscribing. So if you go to haveninspired.com, you can sign up for our weekly newsletter that goes out every Wednesday. It just gives an update from our live, and then also just any additional things that I would want to let you guys know about that specific topic for the week. And then if I'm doing anything, if I'm having any speaking engagements or anything like that, it will let you guys know that there in that email newsletter too. What else? And yeah, after my wisdom teeth are out, I do speaking engagements, you guys. So I do them both virtual and in person, primarily mindfulness content right now. Like I said, I will be finished with my program in a couple of months. I'll be taking my test soon too, Lord Jesus. I'll be taking my test soon. But then we'll be a certified therapist. And then at that point, it will be clinical conversations and things of that matter. But again, I hope this is helpful. Be blessed, you guys. Thank you for subscribing. And if there's any questions, you can always email me at info@haveninspired.com. Be blessed, y'all. Thank you. Bye.